I don't know if it's just me who senses this. The internet nowadays, and by internet, I specifically mean social media, which is what we're going to talk about as I speak today. It's not fun anymore. Years ago, it used to be a playground where you can just come in and share your hobbies and your interests and meet other people with like minded hobbies and interests. And maybe you might even make some friends, maybe some lifelong friends. Maybe you'll never see each other in person, but some lifelong acquaintances. But nowadays, I feel like not only will you not make any friends, but you will collect some enemies, maybe collect some shopping debt, really destroy the remnants of your attention span, and just walk away with a general distaste for humanity. So that's what we're going to talk about today. The internet is not fun anymore. And I would venture to say it hasn't been fun for a number of years. Social media has not been fun for a number of years. And it didn't happen all at once, it didn't happen abruptly. It happened gradually over a number of years, over a span of a decade or so. But I just feel that not only is social media not fun anymore, but it's not cool anymore. And not only is it not cool, but it has grown like a certain ick factor. Like it feels icky. Right now, the landscape of the internet slash social media is so deliciously low. So deliciously low. It just needs to be kicked. That, in short, is what we are going to talk about today. We're just going to have a casual chit chat and basically shit talk social media. My name is Teresa. I'm your resident shit talker. And today we're going to talk some major shit about various social media platforms and how they lost their cool factor if they ever had any to begin with. I'm going to bring out my full valley roots, even though I've never lived in the valley, but a lot of people like wonder, do you live in the valley? No, I don't live in the valley, but I can shit talk like any kind of valley girl. Oh my God, Becky, the internet is so lame. The internet is so uncool. Before we talk about how incredibly lame social media slash the internet, again, using it interchangeably, correct me if you wish. Before we talk about how it has become so deliciously low, how it has deteriorated to the status of scum beneath your shoe, let's talk about a time which it had so much promise. It was once a promising, bright young thing. And I remember a time in which when I was a kid, when I was a 90s kid, I really do apologize for like mentioning my 90s kid status all the time. I feel like I'm a firsthand spectator and participant in the rise of the internet, the rise of social media. I know what it's like to be without the internet. I've lived my whole life up until I was 17 without any kind of internet connection in my home. At the same time, when I got on the internet, I was young enough to be an early adopter of all forms of social media. I was like one of the first users of Twitter. I have to explain to you that the mentality of how a 90s kid viewed the internet back then was one of excitement and optimism. It was cool to be online. Like now we're trying to digital detox ourselves. Right now we're trying to minimize our time in front of the screen. But back in the 90s, I was trying to maximize my time in front of the screen. Like the more screen time you had, the more I felt like the more cool you were because you were, at the forefront of technology. When you saw somebody on TV or you saw somebody in movies using a computer and using the internet, it's like, wow, oh my God, that's so cool. That's so exciting. You're actually talking to somebody. You're talking to somebody through the computer. It's very new and it's very exciting. So I signed up for these social media platforms with that same kind of optimistic mentality in mind. I'm like, oh, the future is progressing so fast. I love it. I don't want to be left behind. I want to be surfing the wave, I want to jam with this console cowboys in cyberspace. That's a deep cut. That's like something Julia Stiles said in Ghost Rider and Who is Max Mouse? She was like a hacker. Whatever you thought about doing online, I did online. Except for, the stuff that would be banned online. During the glory days of the early inception of these social media platforms, my time on the internet happened to be very wholesome. Like I was a very wholesome internet user. Like for most of the mid 2000s, I spent most of my time working on a book blog. In all that time, in like 7 years, I ran this book blog. It was never, ever monetized. I never even received one advance chance reading copy from any kind of publisher. The only thing this book blog got me was like some interest from an editor, because she somehow stumbled upon my book blog from my Twitter profile and she liked what she read and she thought I had potential. I was working on my first novel at the time. It wasn't ready, and she invited me to send it in. Once I get an agent, just mention that she read my book blog, just send it in to her. In the end, she rejected it anyways. It wasn't for her. That was the only benefit it gave me. Another benefit was that Christopher Pike commented on one of my posts, and that was a big deal for me. Like, oh my God, Christopher Pike himself. And I really hope it was, I'm pretty sure it was Christopher Pike. Most of my posts would receive like about like 15, at most 15 comments, sometimes no comments, sometimes 6 comments, maybe like a handful of my posts would go viral for the time. I did a lot of fantasy casting for books. That's what I did. Like I would just write a random post. Who would I cast for the Twilight movie? And there was nobody cast yet. There was no Kristen Stewart. There was no Robert Pattinson. I would just cast like random actors that I think would be good for the part, and those posts will go super viral. Who would I cast for the Hunger Games movie? Who would I cast for like the Outlander TV show? So at the time, Outlander is a TV show now, but back in the day, everybody was talking about like, wouldn't it be great if it was a movie? My hot take was that it was too long to be a movie and needed to be a TV show, and it needed to be on HBO so that we could see some skin, you know? This is who I would cast as Jamie Fraser and Claire. That kind of post would go viral for me. It was so wholesome. And then when people would come in and they wouldn't agree with my casting decisions, they would be incredibly civil. Do you know like how savage people would be nowadays when they don't agree with your opinion? But back in the day, if somebody didn't agree with my casting choices, they would be very civil about it. They would be like, that's a good choice, but my choice would be blank for this reason. But your choice is still good anyways. I could see it. Overall, I had a very wholesome experience on the internet. There was like 2 years in which I was in the Tumblr area. It was mostly around 2013. It all went together. I listened to a lot of Lana Del Rey at the time. And on Tumblr, I was one of those girls that would reblog a lot of Lana Del Rey music video screen caps with the lyrics, you know, in a land of gods and monsters, I was an angel. I thought she was so deep. I thought all her lyrics back in the 2013 Born to Die era was so deep. Okay. I would also reblog a lot of screen caps or GIFs from Sofia Coppola movies. And then a lot of new wave French movies. I didn't even know what these movies were, but they had subtitles on them. And I thought like just the subtitle alone was so deep to me. And I never engaged in any Tumblr poetry, but during the 2010 era, when my acne was at its worst and I felt like a monster, I would reblog a lot of screen caps from Phantom of the Opera. You know, I felt like I was him. Like I had it all except for my face. Anyways, it was so wholesome. It was like I was a bookish girl. I was unproblematic. I never got into it with anybody. I had a small blog, mostly small. I had like 6 comments on a post. I remember being very happy online. It was a very inviting place of like the meager amount of comments, like 6 comments. They were deep comments. They were very nice comments and also very nuanced comments. You want to talk about books, they would talk about books. But nowadays, I feel like it's not even my own comments. I am looking at somebody's like random Instagram comment, like somebody I don't follow because I don't really even get to see any posts from people I follow. More on that later. Sometimes I would come upon what I think is the most innocuous kind of content, an Instagram reel or a short form video about somebody going to like 5 different restaurants to get the best burrito in your city. How can this make anybody angry? It's like one of those cute cat videos. Like, how does that make anybody angry? And yet, sure enough, just out of curiosity's sake, I go down in their comments, and the very first comment is something so full of hatred and vitriol. Like the first comment, why don't you just go delete yourself? This girl is just talking about a burrito. And then the crazy, outrageous comment gets like 100 likes. And I'm like, you guys are actually backing this person up. It really makes you lose faith in people, in humanity. I did some investigation, so I went into the profile of the troll account. That person has like nothing in their timeline. They don't make any content. They don't have like an avatar or anything. It makes me wonder if they're real. Did they just create this account just to troll? Because I know some people do. And then I wonder like, what a waste of time. Don't you think there's better things to do with your life? Why don't you just go outside outside and take a walk for an hour. It makes me wonder with a lot of content that I see nowadays with the proliferation of AI slop, if the troll comment was real. I know that there's troll bots out there that just create vitriol, just go around dumping vitriol on people's videos or photos or whatever, just to rile people up and divide people, allegedly. That's also a possibility. I don't want to get into some conspiracy theories here, but I think that's definitely a possibility. But it could just be somebody who just has a troll account, loves to troll. One thing I know for sure, Instagram right now kind of looks like a wasteland, and it has a very icky vibe. Sometimes when I'm passively on Instagram, and I say passively because all I do on Instagram, I would just passively thumb through stories. That's the last feature of Instagram in which I'm able to see my friends' content, because I sure as hell am not seeing it on the regular timeline. You know, my regular timeline has just been stuffed full of ads, you know, from branded accounts that I don't even follow. Occasionally, I'll see some of my friends' content. Nowadays, my friends or acquaintances or former coworkers, family members, they don't even post anything on Instagram anymore. They don't post anything on their regular timeline. I barely even post anything on my regular timeline. If I post anything, it would be in the stories feature. I like the fact that it just disappears after 24 hours. Doesn't mean that it disappeared forever, like somebody wants to screenshot it or something. I don't post anything that I'm not comfortable with somebody screenshotting. That is the last feature in which I could see what my friends or like distant friends or former coworkers are doing. It makes me wonder what the point of social media is if you are not even social with the people that you know or kind of know. Like that coworker that you worked with 10 years ago, you were friends with, but now you've slowly grown apart. And now the only time you ever talk to each other, if at that, is on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. That circle of people that you don't really make time for to hang out in real life anymore. So you can only keep connected online, and then you're no longer connected anymore. Like I haven't really spoken to one of my writer friends. We were part of the same agency. We used to speak almost every single day for a number of 3 years, and then she's just stopped posting. Like where is she? She disappeared off the face of the earth, but she still has an Instagram account. It makes me wonder what the point of this platform is, if not to connect yourself with people who are a little bit distant. A lot of the social media platforms is now very performative. You post to gain a following. You post for people you don't know. You post for strangers to gain a following so that, I don't know, you become an influencer, sell something. When I look at the landscape of Instagram's For You page, it's a very icky wasteland populated by AI slop, people doing stupid stuff in public. It just makes me feel like, ooh, what did I stumble into? I feel like I stumbled into like the Vegas Strip where everything is like a bright lit up advertisement. And TikTok has never been an app in which it was even masked as social media. It's not even for you to connect with your friends or family or distant acquaintances. It's for you to go viral. So everything is performative. And with the way that a lot of social media algorithms work now, they boost the posts of influencers over regular people, over regular users of the account. Engagement is a large proponent of if content is boosted. People are more likely to comment on something if it makes them angry, unfortunately. Negativity gets attention, and negativity gets engagement. I see a lot of short form content just purposefully rage baiting to get people talking in the comments, get people angry at them. The more angry you are at somebody and the more you let them know what you think of them, the more they are boosted. That's why you see people cooking food out of toilets. Do you think this is normal behavior? Do you think people would actually cook their food out of a toilet if they weren't filming it to get people to comment, to enrage people? One of the things I miss seeing is just photos from people I follow that are vetted, like I know them in real life. I miss seeing the imperfect photos of their lunch, like a burger on a plate, like on a paper plate. The photos with the Valencia filter, and it probably has like 6 likes. I don't know why I'm caught up on the number 6 in this video, but it has 6 likes and you're one of the likes. That kind of content, like the real authentic content, is probably going to be a thing of the past, because as the social media algorithm boosts influencers and AI slop and branded content from real people are going to be they're slowly pushed away. Who amongst us, and be honest, why would you post on Instagram if nobody likes it? A lot of people who are not trying to be influencers, they just want their friends and family to see what they're doing. If they get like 5 or 6 or 10 likes, then that's like a win for them. That's like for their imperfect photo of their backyard barbecue or something. The more the algorithm suppresses this kind of content, what the platform was built on originally, to connect friends and family, it drives those people away. Like, they'll still be there, they'll still have an account, but they'll just stop posting. Like, I noticed a lot of my friends have just stopped posting in general. Who amongst us would post something on Instagram and then not get any likes whatsoever, any likes from people we know, because they don't see what we posted? And then it just deters you from ever wanting to post again, because it's like, well, nobody cares. Nobody cares about my life. Everybody's just liking AI slop and influencer day in the life, morning routines and stuff. Now all we have are branded content and influencer content. And where's the connection here? Imagine you have this aunt that makes delicious pies that don't necessarily look Instagram worthy, but they're good. They're good apple pies, blueberry pies, but they look a little rough around the edges. She would get 10 likes. She would be like, "Oh my God, my distant niece from Australia loves my pie. I feel seen." And then after the gradual and shitification of this platform that she's on, Aunt June, who used to get 10 likes on her pie photo, she gets no likes. Nobody comments on it. Nobody interacts with her in any way, because she's suppressed by the algorithm, because she's not an influencer, and her pie photo could use a little work, but she's pushing 70, and like she's got bad cataracts or something. She's probably still making the pies, but she stopped posting photos of her pie because nobody cares, okay? Her niece from Australia doesn't give a shit about her pies. This is how she feels like. She feels like nobody gives a shit about her. Gradually over the years, she's become very resentful, like secretly resentful of her distant family and relations, and she's become very bitter. And one day she stumbles upon a video about a foodie influencer who looks rich. She's going around town trying out luxury pies, overpriced, expensive pies, maybe some with caviar on it or some gold leaf on it. And Aunt June, she's had it. Like, it's just hit her in the wrong way. She's baking all these delicious pies. Nobody gives a shit. Her own family doesn't even like her content. And she leaves that comment. That first comment, "These pies are a piece of crap. Why don't you go delete yourself?" And that is how you turn sweet little Aunt June into like the ultimate food troll on social media. Whose fault is that? You know whose fault that is? It's the algorithm's fault. They created like a secret resentment in Aunt June, the pie baker, for this random influencer who's going around eating pies. I don't really have an Aunt June in my life, but I venture to say there's a lot of people who probably feel like that. There's a lot of isolation being bred by the algorithm on the very platform that was first touted to bring you all together. That is how I think a lot of the vitriol that is now very much online, all the vitriol is bred and born, is somebody like Aunt June. She didn't intend to become a troll, but just the fact of feeling unseen and unheard and just feeling like you don't matter. The number one thing that could turn people from just being normal, regular people into complete trolls, they feel like they don't matter. I read this article called The Enshittification of TikTok on Wired. It's a great article. It's very detailed and doesn't just talk about the enshittification of TikTok. It had examples of the enshittification route of Facebook and Amazon, just to sum up what enshittification means, which is where all the platforms are kind of in. It's the gradual decline of a platform and the gradual alienation of its core user base due to its goal of increased profit motive, increased profit for its shareholders year after year. So I'm just going to use this as a broad sweep to talk about social media platforms, but you can also apply it to other direct-to-user services as well. When these platforms were in its infancy and during its glory days, when I talk about its glory days of like the mid 2000s, early early 2010s. It was in its growth phase. It wanted to court users, it wanted to grow its user base. So it's going to make the platform very fulfilling for users to use. Like the main reason you're on there is to keep in touch, to see what your friends and family or your coworkers are doing. You want to lock the users in by making sure everybody in their acquaintance is also locked in to the platform, so that like if you leave it, you just feel like, am I missing out? Like I have a hard time leaving Facebook, even though I'm never active on Facebook. And the reason why, how am I supposed to know the birthday of like a distant cousin? I would like to know with this college friend that I hadn't seen in over 20 years. I want to see what they're doing, even though they don't really post and they're not active on it either. It's the only connection I have with them. I don't have their phone number. I come from a time where the phone I used in college is a different phone. I've been through like 5 different phone numbers. They don't have my current phone number. I don't have their current phone number. The only connection, the only tenuous connection we have is being Facebook friends. And that's why I have a hard time leaving it, because even though we're no longer in each other's lives, maybe one day I would like to message them. Stage number 1, the honeymoon phase, court users. Then once you have the users locked in and you successfully harvest all their personal data, their likes and interests, it's time to sell that data. It's time to sell that data to potential advertisers. And now you're in the stage of courting advertisers. And that's when you started to see a few brands or a few targeted ads popping up on Facebook, Instagram. I'm just using them as an example, but it applies to Amazon too, and et cetera, et cetera. That is when the sellers would get very good return for their money for placing an ad on these platforms. You could make very targeted and very direct Facebook ads at that time for pennies on the dollar per click. Pennies on the dollar for your advertising budget. That's where the courting of the seller comes in. Not all sellers are big established corporations. A lot of sellers are small businesses, small Etsy businesses, small homemade candle businesses. A lot of them are indie writers. For instance, I'm in the indie book publishing world. There was a golden age, they say, a golden age of indie publishing. That was when the Kindle first came out, but more so the second wave was in the 2010s again. There is a very successful fantasy indie writer. His whole success was based on the success of his Facebook ads in 2016. He found a niche genre and then he successfully targeted his fantasy series Facebook ads to that niche genre. The ads were very inexpensive, pennies on the dollar, and he was able to make a ton of sales, like a 6-figure income from writing books with the help of targeted Facebook ads and targeted Amazon ads, etc., etc. But after a while, the market for that genre got a little bit more saturated. More people came in making targeted Facebook ads. You had to compete with fellow sellers, and those keywords that were so cheap, pennies on the dollar, they started to rise in price. And now you're just competing with your fellow seller, competing for keywords. So any kind of ad that you see, if the ads you see on Instagram, the ads you see on Facebook, the sponsored slots you see on Amazon, that doesn't come free to the seller. They're paying for it. And every time you click on it, they're paying some amount of money. Sometimes it's like 2 cents, sometimes it's 50 cents. Sometimes it could be as much as $1 a click, $2 a click. Some people might even be paying, I don't know how you would afford this, like $3, $5 a click. So every time you click on it, it costs them money. As the years go on, as there's more sellers, theoretically, as more sellers are courted into the platform, and frankly, you have nowhere else to go because there's only a few platforms now. They've gobbled up any kind of competition. You're forced to compete with your fellow sellers for advertising slots that used to cost pennies on the dollar per click, but now cost $1, $2, $3, $5 per click. So sellers are kind of losing out too. And where's that money going to? It's going to the shareholders. Every year, every quarter, you got to turn a profit. And I understand that. It's the point of capitalism. You're not going to be satisfied with keeping the status quo. Like, are you going to be satisfied with making the same amount the next year and the next year over? Let's say you make $100 one year, for instance, $100. You're not happy with $100 the next year. You got to make 105, 110. And the next year, you have to increase it incrementally. There's no keeping the status quo. There's no breaking even. There's definitely no excuse for a drop in profit. You got to make profit. In the end, the users are unhappy because they signed up for a service that they are not getting anymore. They're just getting advertised to. Somebody's selling something to them. Sellers are not happy because their ad spot, which cost pennies on the dollar when they first signed up, and they thought was a great way to reach people, number one, has a limited reach. You just have to pay a little more to get a wider reach, right? And you don't necessarily make that much in sales from what you're spending anymore. And very mysteriously, I've heard told, very mysteriously, it doesn't seem like anybody's clicking on your ad. Your ad is reaching people, but there's no engagement. As your campaign is closing, very mysteriously overnight, it seems all the clicks happen overnight. And where does it lead? It just leads to more money out of your pocket, but doesn't really lead to any sales. What is happening? Are we talking about alleged click farms here? Perhaps, but I'm not going to point any fingers because I operate under the umbrella of plausible deniability. When the users leave the platform, the sellers have nobody to sell it to. Like, they're just throwing money out into the void to advertise themselves to AI slot generated content user base. I don't know. Who are they advertising to? They're advertising in this echo chamber of other advertisers or accounts that are not real people, or accounts that, AI slop accounts. Just sitting here and talking about the snowball, the deterioration of these social media platforms, their era of enshittification, just made me realize how much they've basically lost the plot. Like, they've lost sight of their most valuable resource. And you would think that the most valuable resource are the sellers, right? Like the advertisers, because that's where they get their money. They don't get money from your average users. They get money from the advertisers, and the money therein appeases the shareholders. Here's the thing. When you alienate the users, when you alienate Aunt June, who just wants to share her imperfect pies with her niece and nephew from around the world or something, when you alienate them and they just leave the platform, they no longer post any content, they are no longer on there anymore, who are your advertisers advertising to? If the advertiser keeps throwing money in that platform, they're not getting any sales in return, they're going to be like, well, I should stop flushing my money down the drain and leave. And then once they leave, and the whole platform starts to crumble, and it's all based on the foundation of the users. The most valuable asset to a social media platform are people who want to connect with other people. The asset that they have shitted upon the most is just regular people wanting to connect with each other. In conclusion, I honestly do not know what the solution to the enshittification of social media platforms or the internet is. Like, honestly, don't know. I'm just along for the ride along with you. The solution cannot be stop being so profit driven, stop trying to appease your shareholders. I mean, nobody in their right mind is going to run a business without trying to make money. That's just a given. There's no going back. Like, once a company has grown and it's become big, it loses sight of what it stood for in the beginning. There's no alternative route, I don't think, than going up and then falling down. That's how empires rise and fall. Everybody's going to have their time in the sun, their like honeymoon period, and then it's going to decline. And very rarely do they survive hundreds of years. And if they do survive hundreds of years, they are in no way the same as when they first started. JCPenney existed all these years, and now it's a shell of its former self, as is Macy's, as is the Ford Motor Company. And maybe that, the rise and fall, maybe that is the American dream. I guess I just want to close on a personal story. As much as I was an early adopter of a lot of social media apps, I was also an early dumper of a lot of social media apps. I dumped Twitter when it was still called Twitter. I deleted it from my phone in 2017, and I've just never looked back since. I downloaded all my data, dumped it, because even then I knew how toxic it was. As early as 2006, 2007, I had this manager, and she would love to look up her staff on their Facebook and talk shit about them. When she would have a conversation with you, it would sound like you're in a police interrogation, like she knows everything about you, and she wasn't hiding it or anything. She's like, oh, I see you went to Canada on July 4th and you were in Victoria at 3:54 p.m. Tell me about that. Oh, where do you you get all this information? And she got it from Facebook. And Facebook was still in its early days. It was exclusively for college students. It opened up to the public and opened up to the public, and that's a Pandora's box opening right there. I was never one of those users that just lived my life on Facebook. I would never have a photo dump on Facebook, let's just say. I was very mindful of the photos I put in there, thank God, because this manager, everybody who worked under her would get like a background check of every footprint they would have online. You know, it's not necessary that she gives everybody a background check, but she's just curious. Susan checked into the Olive Garden. She would know you were at the Olive Garden during your sick day, so you better have a good excuse. Or just innocuous things like somebody's out at the club and they have a photo dump of them at the club. Like, she would know what you wore at the club, and she would pull it up during her free time. She got a lot of free time, and she would just literally talk shit about you to me. Like, I was sitting right next to her. She's talking shit about somebody on their Facebook right next to me. And it made me feel like, oh my God, if she's talking shit about them, what is she saying about me? It felt very invasive. Like, she would even pull up my Facebook when I was sitting next to her and then ask me questions about the photos that I put on there or somebody tagged me in. In many ways, this Bloodhound manager saved me. She has saved me and my data. This was the early days, right? We weren't even thinking about, like, we didn't even know we had data. We were just flies falling into Mark Zuckerberg's trap. You know his famous quote, "They're giving me their data, dumb fucks." And we were just the dumb fucks falling into his trap in her invasiveness, just sitting down and shit talking everybody she knew on Facebook. I became a little bit more careful about what I put online, making sure, stopping to think twice to make sure that it's nothing that I would regret later. And she was a great shit talker. That's all I have to say. She was like one of the best shit talkers I've ever encountered. Like, if there was a contest of shit talkers, if there was a shit talking competition, she would shit talk everyone into the ground. And if you're watching this and you know who you are, you know who you are. I learned everything from you. I love you. So let me know what you think about the state of social media now. Let me know if you've just stopped posting in general because you weren't getting any traction. You weren't making any connections with friends and family. Let me know if you feel that way, if you feel the fictional Aunt June's pain. If you've made it this far, drop this eye emoji, this eye emoji down below. I don't know why I chose that. I guess because I see you. You see me, I see you. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more thoughtful video essays / ramblings of a crazy person. I'll see ya next time.